Hello, I'm Martin Spring and I'm Vice President for Conferences for IFSAM, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the 16th IFSAM Congress, hosted in conjunction with ANPAD in Brazil, where indeed is a public holiday today too, so our colleagues in Brazil, a happy Independence Day. The focus of the Congress is on various changes affecting the business and management higher education landscape, and there are many changes and challenges. Our aim is to present insights that help you and are interesting and useful for member associations and other colleagues, and to help develop the IFSAM policy agenda in these various areas. Specifically, we have roundtables in three key areas: research, education, and practice. We also have a session devoted, or sessions devoted, to the inaugural IFSAM Awards. And finally, we have a roundtable on the first of our soft policy initiatives on research, specifically in the context of Brazil. Some statistics on the Congress attendance. We have 372 participants, and I know we're registering more only a few minutes ago, so it's more than that, from 35 different countries. So we truly are a global organization, and this is a global event. Many people have contributed to the Congress, and I'd like to thank my predecessor Isabel Booty for her work early on, the General Assembly and Scientific Committees for the Congress, all the chairs and panelists, and specifically Juliana Bonomi, Guadalupe Calderon, who's VP Communications. Juliana's my deputy, by the way, and Eleonora Piacenza, who's webmaster and has these have done the really important work in putting this event in practice here today and over the next 3 days. And I'd like to thank you for joining us today, and I hope over the next few days. As I say, we are running this in conjunction with ANPAD in Brazil, so I'll hand over now to Alqueta to say a few words. Alqueta.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Martin. It's a great pleasure for ANPAD to host IFSAM Congress in collaboration. I'd like to express my gratitude to all the colleagues of IFSAM, international colleagues. Our partnership with IFSAM has been key to advance in discussing, strategizing about key issues in management, education, research, training, and practice. So being a part of IFSAM is very relevant to advance beyond, a northern perspective on those global issues that affect us all. I would like to express, to welcome all of you, to welcome particularly the Brazilian participant. I'd like to give some examples of how this collaborations has been working within these 2 years. For example, in our annual meeting, we'll have the participation of the president of our African Academy of Management, discussing with Brazilian researchers issues of sustainability and decolonization. So it's a great topic, and it's been able, we've been able to put this panel together due to IFSAM cooperation. I would also like to highlight IFSAM contribution on soft policies issues. So we have had interesting discussion that, of course, will continue within these days of event, that are incorporated, are materialized in the great soft policy papers that have been useful to guide our research, our everyday practices as an association of management in a more qualitative way. So thank you very much again. I would like to welcome you all, and to hope that all of you will have a grateful discussion, and we'll continue to go forward with our pressing themes in management research, in management training, and in management practice. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Alqueta. Wonderful. Now I'll hand over to Xavier, our president.
Thank you so much, Martin. Warm welcome to all the participants, in particular the Brazilian ones, thanks to this wonderful cooperation with ANPAD. And also a warm welcome to all the members of the General Assembly, the Board of Directors, and the Advisory Council who are present in this opening session of this 16th Congress of the Federation. I would like to also thank Martin for all his work and his team in the preparation of this Congress, and all the presidents and chairs and their representatives of the 23 member associations of the Federation and the 2 observer associations also. I've seen that Carrie Brown, president of ANSAM, is on us, as well as Felicity Kelleher, former chair of the Irish Academy of Management and secretary of our advisory council. And I would also like to thank the special attendance of Norio Kambayashi, the president, the outgoing president of the Japanese Academy of Business Administration, who is also with us. Today is a day also of celebrations, and we start with the first celebration of 10 years ago, the 11th Congress of the Federation, which have been biannual for the last 30 years. So 10 years ago in Limerick, in Ireland, in cooperation with the Irish Academy of Management on the theme Management Reimagined, and it was chaired by Michael Morley, who is with us, also former president of the Federation. Thank you so much, Michael. The second celebration is 20-year celebration of the 6th IFSAM Congress in Australia, which was organized in cooperation with the Australia and New Zealand Academy of Management on the topic of management in a global context, prospects for the 21st century. And it was organized by Greg Bamber, who is also with us, who was the chair and also former president of the Federation. Both Michael and Greg are also members of our advisory council. And last but not least, of course, today we are mostly celebrating the 30th anniversary of the first IFSAM Congress, which happened to happen at the same dates that this Congress, between the 7th and the 9th of September of 1992 in Tokyo, Japan. Hopefully we'll be able to revisit soon Japan. And it was done in cooperation with the Japanese Academy of Business Administration on the very topical issue at that point in time, and now again, of management and high technology. It was chaired by the late Tasuko Noguchi, who was the first president of the Federation after the founding president, Urs Albach, who left us last year. So we are very pleased of being able to celebrate this occasion, the 30th anniversary of the first Congress. And for that, we have prepared a memory booklet with participants and organizers of that Congress who have very kindly contributed to it. And the booklet is available on the website of the Federation, and you should also be receiving it now through the chat, hopefully, for those of you who are eager to look at it. As you can see in the slide, there have been different contributors to this booklet. I really encourage you to read it. It's short, 16 pages, but really full of very interesting anecdotes about the history of the field and of the Federation. And we have several of the contributors who are with us today, and so you will hear from them. I turn now the floor to Martin. Thank you.
Thank you, Xavier. And I'll swiftly move on to introduce our first speaker on this section, Koji Akubayashi, who, among many other things, was vice chair of the 1992 Congress Organizing Committee. Koji, please.
Okay, thank you very much. And now, good evening from Kobe in Japan. But anyways, I was vice president of the first Congress of IFSAM in Tokyo. Therefore, I would like to explain why the Japan Association of Academy of Management intended to make this kind of worldwide organizations. The first Congress was clearly explained in the booklet. Therefore, you can read it and clearly understand the concrete situations. When we started the discussion to build up this kind of a worldwide organization, we started 1989, but officially it is started at 1989. But anyways, at that time, we discussed what kind of organization we should make. Because at that time, we didn't have any international federations of Academy of Management. But in the side of executives of our management, they have an international organization named CEOs, but we didn't have the counterpart for that in the academic world. Therefore, we intended to organize such a worldwide federation of Academy of Management. But at that moment, yes, there was a lot of communication among the business school in the developed countries, but we didn't have organizational relations with these organizations. That means the exchange of important information was limited only to personal relations. Therefore, we need to build up a new road to exchange many information about science and practice of business and administration. That is the starting point of our discussions. And but the problem is what the subject to be discussed at the first Congress. We at that moment we made a rapid economic growth after the Second World War. The German as well as Japan was very strong in the economies, and therefore we intend to show the Japanese way of management, especially new technologies, the practice. Therefore, we put the title of the new technology and management for the first Congress of our organizations. That is why we organize the a kind of international federation of scholarly association of management. In our name, we put the scholarly association. That means we are quite different from the practice or the practice of management. Therefore, we intend to emphasize on the theoretical part of our field. But 30 years ago, we were quite excellent in the new technologies, but the Japanese economy nowadays cannot catch up with the worldwide trend of the advanced industrialized countries. Therefore, we intended to support the progress of the practice of management in Japan. That is our new target for our research. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Koji. That's an amazing insight into that early initiative. Moving on quickly, I'll hand over now to Alain Berlow, who, again, among many other things, was a keynote speaker at the 1992 Congress. Alain.
Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah. All right, thank you, Martin. Dear colleagues, dear friends, one upon a time, there was Horst Albach from the University of Bonn, and he was one of the refounders of management education in Germany after World War II. He contacted me in 1987 or 88. His intent was to inform me regarding a project that aimed at creating an international federation of national academic associations. He did this in conjunction with Professor Tasuku Noguchi from the Nihon University in Tokyo. And I have shown a keen interest in this very ambitious project, and therefore they proposed me to organize a pre-conference, which I agreed to do in 1989. Two other pre-conferences were organized, one in 1990 in Frankfurt, Germany, and one in 1991 in Niagara Falls in the US. So the three pre-conferences were like a test, and it confirmed the interest of many colleagues in creating and sustaining such an association as IFSAM. And it was decided to organize world conferences every 2 years. So as you know, the first World Congress was held in Tokyo in 1992. And Tasuku Noguchi worked with a dream team of Japanese colleagues, among them Professor Koji Akubayashi. It was a huge challenge because IFSAM was a new organization without reputation. At this time, very few academics from Europe or the US or Canada had already visited Japan. The flights were very expensive. We had limited contacts with our colleagues from East Asia. Internet was almost inexistent. Faxes were not really user-friendly. Phone calls very expensive. So we wrote letters and through the postal service, and we get the answer 1 month later. That's how we organized, how the Japanese colleagues organized this conference. The scientific committee received 209 papers, selected only 114 of these papers. The authors came from Japan, 44 of them. 41 came from 11 European countries, 23 from North America, and the others from all over the world. So the proceedings were 459 pages long. It shows how important the outcome was. It wasn't a traditional academic meeting. Of course, it was an opportunity to meet colleagues from all over the world, and we had many occasions to do this, even if we were not called at this time United Nations of Academies. The official language was not limited to English, but also Japanese, and it became a feature of IFSAM in the future conference to be bilingual. During the lunches, we had luncheon speeches made by leading entrepreneurs to show that the business community is connected with the academic community. And before or after the conference, our Japanese colleagues organized 13 technical visits in emblematic companies, Japanese companies. So it was really a huge success with around 1,000 participants for the first World Congress organized by IFSAM. So Koji, congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alain. And another fascinating insight into the way I think these things come about through over a long time and through personal networks, which is what our work is often all about, isn't it? Our next contributions from Klaus Brockhoff, who also held a role around that time in IFSAM. This is by video, so I'll play Klaus's video now.
Dear hosts and participants of the 16th IFSAM conference that happened precisely 30 years after the First World Congress. This coincidence reminds me of the very beginnings of IFSAM, which I was asked to share with you. Founding IFSAM took place in Frankfurt, Germany in 1990, and it was a great experience. As incoming president of the German Academic Association for Business Research, I observed the negotiations between the most experienced and internationally befriended peers from many nations. Mentioning the driving role of Horst Albach is undoubtedly not meant to play down the contributions of many other representatives of scholarly associations of management. He became the founding president. Governance of the future association, its financing, and its purpose were significant issues. Even the name of the association had to be negotiated. For every word, except for management, alternatives were offered, their pros and cons discussed, and finally nailed down. And just as an aside, I hope that IFSAM brand has become so strong that it is not mixed up with a financial institution from Luxembourg that uses the same abbreviation of initials since 2001. 12 associations became the founding members. Tazuko Noguchi, who was personally present in Frankfurt, was elected as the first president of IFSAM. He boldly announced that the Japanese colleagues would be ready to host the first World Conference in Tokyo. And indeed, this conference took place from September 7 to 9 at the Kyo Plaza Hotel. 559 delegates from 24 associations participated, thus doubling the number of interested associations within only 2 years. For me, participating in the Tokyo IFSAM conference was a must for several reasons. Officially, I represented the German Member Association as its president. But much better than that, I welcomed the opportunity to present some of my research on technology management to an international audience. Measuring the performance of corporate R&D by estimating a production function was in itself no new item, but since earlier attempts to do so, quite impressive progress had been made. The presentation seems to have generated some interest among the Japanese participants, because only 2 years later, my German book on planning and controlling industrial R&D was translated into Japanese. Furthermore, the 1992 conference made it possible to meet with many friends and colleagues and make new acquaintances. This was another wonderful experience. Looking back from today's interneted world, it may be hard to appreciate how critical personal acquaintances at an international level were for exchanging ideas and research results these days, not even talking of joint international projects. This is particularly true for Germany, where a younger generation of scientists tried to establish new bounds after the terrible World War, where only a small number of researchers practiced publishing in international journals, and where university administrators had very limited understanding of the costs of such processes, requiring substantial private contributions to travel expenses and even mail budgets. Furthermore, it could not yet be imagined that online conferences could become feasible. These conferences reduce the travel time and budgets of their participants. However, today it is generally acknowledged that exclusive use of online conferences restricts the breadth of information exchange among participants, particularly if they have had no earlier personal contacts. Therefore, I hope that personally meeting at conferences unrestricted by pandemics, wars, or other constraints will soon become possible again. My official role at the Tokyo conference proved to be not an easy one. The official greetings and thanks delivered at the evening reception in the grand ballroom of the Kyoto Hotel, including a haiku-type poem that I had composed for the occasion to honor our hosts, was not the most challenging part. Although our role in the ritual opening of sake containers, which was only explained to us in the native language, left some hesitance and undecidedness with my Indian colleague Rege, myself, and some other non-Japanese representatives on stage, such as Jenny Speer, Alain Berlow, or Eduard Gaugler. The Kumi Taiko drumming performance that was shown on stage was deeply impressive. The teething troubles of the young organization kept me busy behind the scenes. On the one hand, I tried to negotiate a conflict on financing IFSAM between the representatives of two different member organizations on the board. This conflict demonstrated that the charter had left something undecided. On the other hand, I had been asked to deliver a report on a particular East European organization that wanted to join the association. However, having studied their material, I concluded that it did not fit the membership criteria of representing an association of scholars in management. None of these background activities were uncontroversial. IFSAM has grown into a major international association over the past 30 years. Beyond the biannual conferences, it has developed a number of additional schemes to enhance the exchange on management research and practice. I wish IFSAM continuous success in developing international relations in the management sciences and many further meetings to support new generations of scholars similarly as my generation has been supported. Thank you.
Fascinating. It makes me want to meet all the people that I've never met in person yet. Hopefully those days will come. Quickly now on to Patricia's video contribution.
Hi, I am Patricia Tomei from IAG Business School, Catholic University, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. 1992, IFSAM Congress, Tokyo Congress, was very important to me, professionally and personally. In the early 80s, I started to study Japanese human resource management and published some articles in Brazil academic journals, bringing the discussion to our university. In 1988, I was invited to be a visiting scholar at Risho University in Tokyo, and I was in Japan for the first time in my life, interviewing executives and delving into the different comparative aspects of Japanese, American, and Brazilian culture. When I received the call for papers from IFSAM, I was excited about the opportunity to return to Japan and deepen my knowledge in my research field. The Congress was very rich, and I always remember the discussion we had in two specific sections. The first one was about personal management and labor relations with Professor Gogler from the University of Mannheim and Professor Akubayashi. I don't know if it's a good pronunciation, but he was a Japanese professor, brilliant Japanese professor from Kobe University. And we talk about the effects of advanced technology to work organization and human relations. This subject is still very important, especially right now after the COVID pandemic. The second section that I remember pretty well is about Japanese management systems, and was with the Professor Fruin from University of British Columbia and Professor Fuji from Nihon University, Nihon, where we discussed the social aspects of bringing new methods abroad, or transferring methods, Japanese methods for other cultures. I also have an excellent memory of technical visit. We went to Honda factory in Osaka. This place was the first time in my life robots on the production line. I was really impressed. Finally, I want to tell you a small gossip. When I was coming back to Rio, I stopped in a toy store and bought a huge panda bear for my kids. My husband complained about the credit card bill, but I'm really sure, memories are priceless. And 1992 IFSAM Tokyo Congress, after 30 years, it is still vivid in my memories. I congratulate IFSAM for all the academic contributions during these years and wish continued success in the development of international relations in the management fields. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. I feel like I'm there back in 1992. Finally, in this section, Takashi, please, who's representing JABA.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so good morning or good afternoon. So it is so at 8 o'clock in the evening, local time. So my name is Takashi Sakikawa. I am in charge of JABA's international academic relations. So that's why, on behalf of other members, I'd like to deliver a short brief talk to this moment. So let me explain briefly about JABA. So JABA, or the Japan Academy of Business Administration, is a leading professional association in Japan for scholars dedicated to conducting research in the field of business administration and management studies. Founded in 1926 by 342 members, JABA is one of the oldest scholarly management associations in the world. Today, JABA is home to around 1,700 members. So last week, JABA held its 96th anniversary of annual conference hosted by Meiji Dayak. It was held online. So since founding IFSAM, JABA has actively involved in managing, organizing this great scholarly organization, IFSAM. And so actually, JABA was a host organization for the first IFSAM Congress held in Tokyo, 1997, so 30 years ago. And also, JABA hosted another conference in 2014. So it was held in Meiji University. So as I mentioned, I am JABA's international academic relation. So that's why I had participated in JABA's several meetings since I was I was also a member of IFSAM. So since then, I had many chances interact with a great scholar from around the world. So anyway, as a founding member of IFSAM, no doubt, JABA will continue a good, strong relationship with IFSAM for many years to come. That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Takeshi. And thanks to all the speakers. That's an amazing insight into the history of the Federation and of the Congresses. And I hope this year's Congress will live up to that history and reputation and pedigree of the Federation. That's about all we have for you in this session. I'd like to close by saying thank you for attending. I'd like to draw your attention to the next round of the IFSAM Awards. There's a deadline coming up soon on this 15th of September. So please consider nominating colleagues, self-nominating. Please forward the details to colleagues. You'll see the link there for the submission, and there's information about the requirements for the different awards on the IFSAM website. Finally, I'd like to insert another advert for the next session in this Congress, which is on open science, a hot topic around the world, I think, certainly here in the UK, chaired by Christine Moser. And indeed, I'd like to encourage you to participate as much as you can over these next 3 days. And we look forward to seeing you, as it were, back here in the closing ceremony on Friday. Have a great Congress, enjoy yourselves, and I hope it's valuable to everyone.